It's Tuesday. It's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and it's time, of course, for Tom and Shane. Thanks for joining us today. And we're happy to have you along with us. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. There's three things on the screen, Shane. We've got subscribe. If you click on subscribe, nothing will happen to you. The chances of you walking on the moon, the chances of you winning the lottery won't change at all. You won't get any notifications of any kind for subscribing. Nothing will happen to you. You'll just be here. And we've had several new subscribers lately. We like to welcome all you guys. Now, if you do want something to happen, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday by the Gregorian calendar. Now, if you click that notification bell, it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to worry about the time difference between Eastern or if you're in Borneo or somewhere. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified anytime we have a podcast. And if you like us, well, let us know. Click the like button and leave a comment because YouTube will push us up in the search if you do that kind of thing. So we would appreciate it very much if you do that. If you like to support us monetarily, and why wouldn't you? I mean, come on. There are some costs involved in putting this on, so we would appreciate some help with that, and we would like for you to do that. There's a description in the YouTube below to do that. Go over and see the benefits you get for doing that, and we'll be happy to do that for you. Also, we do these on StreamYard, and if you'd like to do podcasts like this, there's a free link in the description below, and get after it. Today, we're going to talk about oil, Shane. Petroleum, oil. Why? I got to ask, Shane. I got to ask, why are gas prices so high?
Well, as we've been discussing, and the world, I think, for the most part, understands, we live in a form of economics called capitalism, and it's predicated on supply and demand. And with the COVID shutdown, which included the oil industry, I mean, the whole industry was shut down.
Uh-huh.
So basically, it's pretty impressive how quickly it came back in the last 9 to 12 months, really less than a year. But even during that time, when you look at what the price of oil was, $1.68, I believe, when Biden took office, I mean, it's almost at $10. I mean, that's like 1,000% increase.
Yeah, it is.
So the regrettable thing is they haven't been able to keep up with the demand, and hence the price has gone up.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, Shane, or oil prices were negative at one point in several parts of the world.
That's right.
I don't think we ever got to a negative here, but and China, they're the world's largest consumer of energy. Um, they they've got restrictions and lockdowns over there that are affecting their oil usage. And the thing with Ukraine, and also you've got Russia and the European Union. We've got an oil ban in the European Union to kind of slow Russia down or try to do that or whatever with them. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues that are affecting oil prices all over the place.
That's right, and the phenomenal thing is that it's the largest, currency in the world or commodity, however you want to call it,
Yeah.
as far as our integrated global system of trade and transportation. But oil's been used for 4,000 years. I mean, it was used
Oh,
back in
yeah.
Babylon. They used it in Babylon as a pitch to build buildings, or
Hmm.
and it was at the surface. They found it on the surface along riverbanks, on the Euphrates. The Chinese, for over 2,000 years, have been using it. They were the first people to make use of it and break it down. And the Persians, as a matter of fact, were the first ones to distill it and turn it into different usages, including for medication and lotions. And it wasn't until the 18th and 19th century that a big change occurred in the development of it and turning it into course, what we're dealing with today, which is gasoline. And that primarily came about in the 1800s. And there's different octane ratings for gasoline, or we call them, blends. And, there's about 16 different ones. The blends are anywhere from an octane rating of 85 up to 102. And then, of course, you have the different types of seasonal blends as well. So, yeah, it's become a very sophisticated industry. It's a universal. It was used in the early 1800s for the diesel that was developed, and of course the paraffin. That's one of the main things you get from distilling oil. And then it did a great deal to replace the oil that whalers were getting from, for the use for lighting. So, but once gas came along, which happened in the late 1800s, that changed everything, because that allowed 24-hour, light that was maintained. Yet up till then you had to refill gas lamps, and they'd only last several hours. So everything changed when man could basically be up 24 hours a day. That's the big key, and that changed things in the 18 and 1900s.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, yeah, we got three blends: heavy, light, and medium. Somewhere in between. So we got the tar sands stuff, with the heavy stuff we get from Saudi Arabia, and some of the tar sands out of Canada, and the light oil we get from the Bakken and places like that. And there's other places, obviously.
Yes, Texas, a lot of light oil in Texas.
Yeah,
and that's why the pricing of it is set in West Texas, Dallas, and then in London for Brent, which is oil sold in Europe. And of course, we know the Brent values always had anywhere from 5 to 10% higher price, because Russia's the biggest provider, and so they tap it. And the West Texan, the interesting aspect of all this is OPEC doesn't have its own price. You would think they wanted to change everything in the world or have an impact. They would have set a price. The other thing is that those of us that remember, oil or gasoline over $5. This is the first time it occurred since 1973, 74.
Yeah,
with the OPEC oil embargo against Jimmy Carter. So
yeah, back in the days, yeah. Yeah, Bruce says Noah used it to seal the ark. Read Genesis. All right.
That's what he used, tar.
There we go. Yeah, it's got it there. So let's see. Some other things we've got to talk about here, Shane. And let me pull up my notes here so we can talk about it. The big thing, I guess, that is being proposed at the moment is ethanol. Gasoline, many of it contains 10% ethanol, because the Clean Air Act, way back when, required Americans to use whatever you read.
All right, you got almost. Keep going.
Yeah, in order to burn cleaner in a combustion engine. Now they want to raise that to 15% in ethanol. And that, of course, ethanol comes from corn, and everything in your grocery store shelf is going to cost more if this happens, because everything from corn flakes to flour to bread to whatever has corn in it, corn oil, corn cooking oil, everything. So
that's right, and it's a natural sweetener. So in the 70s and 80s, all of a sudden corn and the farmers not getting a lot for their corn. We're trying to come up with other uses to expand its consumption. And of course, the Germans, they were big back in the 30s, trying to figure out how to develop oil and gas from coal, and then they discovered the use of corn as a ideal oil of distilling it, because you can create, as you said, corn oil and then distill that oil down. So all these things have had an impact. The interesting aspect of it now, of course, is it's so incredible, because all these people that are on the green side of saving the planet they're attacking the use of corn and want it, and on the basis that people are going to starve. Well, I'm sorry. There's more than enough corn for what's
Yeah.
made for diesel as there is to feed the world. This is not an issue as to how much we have. It's the issue of how to get it there. Well, once you get it there, it doesn't get stolen and then resold by thieving leaders or political parties in any certain country.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Let's see. We're too dependent on oil, Craig says. Use it for stuff that can be powered with other fuels. And, as I've said over a million times, alternative fuels will come, but they're going to come in their own good time. So, until then, oil is a finite resource. No, it isn't. It's not a finite resource.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Sure we do.
Geology has not confirmed that yet. It's a theory, as to where it came from. We think we know what it is and where it came from, but it could be a naturally occurring, thing in the planet. They're not certain. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just making.
Yeah. Sounds like you're disagreeing.
And to say we're dependent on it. Well, we're dependent on water. We're dependent on air.
Yeah.
We're dependent on land and not living in the ocean.
So
I mean, man's dependent on a lot of things, but probably I would say the one single biggest impact in man and his development in the last 300 years for sure, is oil. I mean, it's been found and discovered in quantities since the third millennium, 300 AD. So it's not something we should ignore. I mean, it's here, it's naturally here, and it's abundant. It's just carbon and hydrogen. So it's not like it's it's not something that it shouldn't be here.
Well, I'll tell you, if this consensus is that the oil that we have now is from decaying dinosaurs and whatever millions of years ago.
That's correct, but it's also as a result of coal, and coal is a natural mineral, and it exists naturally. And again, coal is a mineral that exists in large quantities at all kinds of levels of the upper planet, layer. And so we don't know if all coal was created by the decay of dinosaurs. So again, it could very well be, but it's a science and it's based on theory, and some theories have been proven and others have not yet.
Yeah. Well, my theory is,
well, you're entitled to your theory if you have a doctorate in petroleum geology.
Well, I have doctorates all over the place. I mean,
well, yeah, they're hanging everywhere on your wall.
I print them daily with my printer. Now,
yeah, you can see mine, over my right shoulder. They're hanging them on the wall right there.
I see that. Yeah, I see that. Well, my theory is, if dinosaurs, in fact, were the source of oil, decaying organisms, okay, that hasn't stopped with the dinosaurs. Animals have died for millenniums, millions and millions and millions of years.
As we've talked.
So that oil is constantly being regenerated by the death of animals today. That oil will be available millions of years from now.
That's right. And we've gone through the fact that the planet's gone through 5, extinction events, and the reason oil is at different depths below the surface is because of the plates, and the plate. It's not like the plates are moving like miles a year. I mean, they're moving centimeters to feet a year, and so that's why some of it is buried down 20,000 feet, and some is down 500 feet.
Yeah. And, just as when we weren't able to do hydraulic fracturing, before that, we were limited in the amount of oil that we could find. Then hydraulic fracturing came along, we could find more oil. Now, in the future, we're going to find other ways of getting more oil. And that oil is going to be constantly replenished, because animals that died millions of years ago were taken out of the ground now. Animals that are dying today will take out of the ground millions of years from now. So, It's very simple.
As
It's
I
a
said,
finite it's not a finite resource.
in the 5th century, 460, the Chinese were drilling for oil with bamboo sticks
Yeah.
because the consumption of it that they had, required better efforts to find and recover it. So it basically became a natural demand of our civilization in 1850 to 2000, 1850 to 2000 or
Yeah.
1900. Sorry.
Something
Well,
like that. Yeah.
1850 till today. That's only 170 years. That's not bad.
No, we can do that.
Yeah,
So
that's a blink in the
yeah.
time of 4 billion years on the
Yeah.
planet.
Well, also too, there's offshore drilling and all of that. There's going to be a time when we're going to be able to get oil out of the Marianas Trench if you, if you want to go that far. So
That's right. Yeah, and the remarkable thing is that in our lifetime, yours and mine, the oil industry has gone from having around 128, the turn of the 19th century of oil refineries to well over 700 on a global basis. So this isn't like a cakewalk, and the reason that oil today is trading at 123 Brent, for the Russians, and 122 for West Texas, is because of the value to our entire society and the requirement we have. So it's a phenomenal thing to read about. It's not complicated. There haven't been that many really new developments in it. And of course, until they did horizontal drilling, they started 30, 40 years ago. But the Howard Hughes company was the one that, it created the tri-drill, meaning it's a when they spin the pipe to drill before there was no drill bit on it. His father came up with a drill bit that you screwed on the bottom of the pipe, and it had 3 different rotors on it that would spin as the pipe spins. So because the pipe spins, it would spin the rotors, and that would cut not only cut a hole, but a wider hole. They would pump liquids down the shaft to the inside through the pipe, and that would come down and wash and create a liquid, and it would be pushed back to the surface on the outside of the pipe to the surface again. So that's how they were able to know what type of rock they were cutting through, and so they'd know what kind of drill bit to put down, whether just a soft bit for sand or a diamond bit for granite, because up until the Howard Hughes bit, you couldn't, if you hit granite,
you're out of luck. Yeah.
SOL, that, and you drilled that well for nothing. So developments of ideas and concepts have not been that radical. So we're basically playing with old technology that just been modernized with new equipment, new types of drilling, and of course, like you talked offshore, these platforms are massive. They're anywhere from 200 million to initially build to well over $1 billion, and some of them stand on the ocean floor and the surface in in several hundred feet of water. Like there are drilling decks that are like as tall as buildings anywhere in the world, and then there's some that float, where they've anchored it with massive cables and weights, and then so they're like in 300 feet of water to keep it stable. Sure. And then they run pipe from that down, to anywhere from 5 to 20,000 feet deep of water in water. So the first, and a triple derrick, meaning it's like it's like 20 270 feet high. So that's 390 feet, 390-foot pipe put together that you'd pull out, undo, stack, or likewise bring it over, turn it on, drill down. So when you take it out, you think about it. You take it out to 270 feet of pipe at a time, and you're down 20,000 feet before you get into the hole.
Yeah.
and then you can go down
Yeah, I know.
another 5, 10, or 20,000. I mean, so when you think about this, there's like 40,000. So they're drilling
Mhm.
in offshore platforms to a greater depth than
8 or 9 miles.
to the height of the
Mount
tallest
Everest.
Mount Everest.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
what technology?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we've found a minuscule amount of oil to what's available. Um, all things being considered, I guess. I mean, we know there's plenty of oil in certain places, but we don't have the technology to get it yet.
That's right. All
Yeah.
oil comes to the surface by what they call ground hole pressure.
Hmm.
So the deeper it is, the greater amount of pressure from the rock and the
Right. Yeah.
above it. The shallower it is, less pressure. So as a result of that, we've only recovered 15% of all the oil we've ever discovered. I mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
every oil preserve, every oil reserve, every
Hmm.
patch of oil, small or large,
Yeah.
15 to 20%. So 80% of the oil that man has discovered in the
Still
last
on the ground.
still in the ground.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk, could go to Ohio and Pennsylvania, which oil is down there,
Hmm.
less than 500 feet,
Yeah.
and he could just tunnel through it. Start
Hmm.
building a tunnel between two cities in Pennsylvania or Ohio,
Yeah.
and the oil that he would reap from it would make him a billionaire again.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, more oil seeps through the ocean floor than all the oil tanker spills of all time.
That's
Uh,
right.
every day.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of this available, and as I say, it replenishes itself every single day.
Well, and
So
that's why it's important to talk about it because environmentalists talk
well, it
about the
is. Yeah.
they talk about the
Yeah.
damage it does. Well,
Hmm.
excuse me, if the Persians found it on the Euphrates, the oil that they discovered was flowing into the Euphrates. So, this is
Yeah.
not new. So,
Yeah.
so
No.
the planet naturally absorbs it, breaks it
Hmm.
down
Yeah.
itself.
Hmm.
And again, these are the things
Yeah.
that are so important for these talks you and I have because
Hmm.
people need to understand the geological science, the methodology of recovery, and the sciences involved in that, and the incredible engineering that it has gone into this. It's one of these things that you look at and you go, my goodness gracious, how remarkable, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, everybody wants electric cars. If you want to save the planet, don't get an electric car. Get a hybrid. You know, uses gas and
So that's right.
electricity.
Like
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Don't be
horizontal drill.
stupid.
Here's a
Yeah.
perfect example. Horizontal drilling came about 40 years ago,
Mhm.
and it was used to go down into existing pools, the 80%. So anywhere from 500 to a few thousand feet, and that was simple because they would drill into formations that were principally sand,
Mhm.
because there's a quotient in the oil industry as uh, how much sand can move through what the suspension it's in.
Mhm.
Because it's not like there's pools of oil down there. They're
Yeah.
suspended in different rock formations,
Mhm.
and
That's what
so
the hydraulic fracturing does.
that's right.
Gets
So
gets it
what
out of
if,
the sandstone or
if
whatever
it's
it's in
sand
down
or
there.
gravel, they figured,
Yeah.
well, we'll go down, and so they
Mhm.
horizontally drilled, and then what they did is they dropped down a line of explosives that looked like eggs, okay, and they would drop them down because they would horizontally drill at a small angle so they could slide these down, and then they would set them all off and perforate the
Mhm.
pipe so there were holes in the pipe, and the ground hole pressure would then push the oil into the pipe,
Mhm.
and they could pump it out and bring it
Yeah.
to the surface. So
Mhm.
it's 50-year-old technology. Now fracking, the reason it's different is because they went down into structures they knew oil was in, but it was more solid.
Yeah.
So they
Right.
would do the same thing, go down 5, 10, 20,000 feet. They would go horizontal for 5, 4, 2, 3, 4 miles, and they would set these explosions off and perforate, and it would do two things. It would put a hole in the pipe, and it would frack the formation
Mhm.
around it, that
Yeah.
had oil in it. so that they could recover more oil. So
Yep.
that's a quick lesson on that aspect and the
Hmm.
science of it. But
Yeah.
it's an old technology they've
Hmm.
have advanced and enhanced.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, Biden is talking about releasing stuff from the reserve, the petroleum reserve. Venezuela's got the largest oil reserve, 289 billion barrels. We got 33 billion, and Biden's releasing a few million barrels. But so far, it hasn't had any effect, Shane, on anything, gas prices or anything else. They in most of the well, at least in 10 states, they've gone over $5, and six is not far behind. And some places in California, we saw over the weekend as much as $8, and some pumps are being refitted to have $10 oil or $10 gas.
Well, this is the one of those concerns of a conspiracy theory that's not too hard to believe.
Yeah.
That the Obama and Biden administrations, which are now going on, 12 years, they are basically responsible for shutting down two of the largest oil producers and gas producers in the world, Ukraine and Venezuela. Venezuela has the largest known oil reserves in the world. In the
Hmm.
world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's run by a socialist government. They no one will buy from them because of that. But more importantly, the whole oil industry has collapsed because they've destroyed the economy.
Hmm.
The Ukrainians have been at war for 8 years. It's difficult to produce food and oil and gas, or explore for it while you're being shot at.
Yeah.
So you wonder, what would the price of oil be if Ukraine and Venezuela were part of the production of oil and natural gas? I
Hmm.
would say it would be back around $2.
Yeah, I would
That's the
think
way
so
I like.
too. Yeah.
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 So it's to the advantage of Putin to have a war in the Ukraine because
Hmm.
that creates more value to his oil,
Hmm.
and to pay our money probably to Venezuela for the political class and their military not to
Hmm.
produce oil because
Yeah.
he gets the win on their end, and maybe the socialists in Venezuela look at it, well, when everyone else is out of oil, we'll have ours. It'll be
Hmm.
our it'll be
Yeah.
our it'll be our turn then.
Yeah. Right. So to speak. So. Well, yeah, it is a world commodity, and as we said at one point, well, if we want to go back to go back to the 70s, when you and I were on the air back when oil was 140. We predicted back then it was going to come down, and by 6 months later, it was down to 32 per barrel. And just for edification, I guess we get 19 gallons of gas out of a 42-gallon barrel of oil. It's not a 55-gallon drum. I assume
No.
that's some kind of matrix crap, that it's 42 gallons instead of 55 or whatever. So, but maybe it's a shipping thing. It fits in a shipping container better at 42 gallons than it does at 55. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
they only ship it
yeah,
by cargo in barrels. But
yeah.
we got to pat ourselves on the back. In
Hmm.
January, we said that by June, oil would be
Hmm.
well over
Well, over
100
100. Yeah.
and towards 125, and by the end of the summer, September, it'll be 150. So
Yeah.
hold on because
Yeah. It's
it,
going to get worse before it gets better.
that's right. Right now, oil at these prices, and gasoline rather, is cheap.
Hmm.
It's getting expensive. All right,
Yeah.
it's going to get expensive,
Yeah.
and that's why I really believe that how could anyone vote for the existing party in the United States that's running the government?
Hmm.
If a Democrat, African American, Mexican, I don't care who you are,
Hmm.
white liberal, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know who's what percentage
Hmm.
of people are going to vote for this continuation because it's going to only get worse for everybody.
Well, yeah, yeah, as you say, we're going into summer blends now. that are more expensive to produce than the winter blends are. Adding the 15 or the extra ethanol is going to affect some food prices, but it's not gonna bring down the cost of gasoline. Um, so until a lot of things have to change, Shane, before oil is going to start dropping.
Well,
As
that's
you
right. And
yeah,
at 100%, that doesn't mean double digits doesn't take it to $15 or $20 a gallon.
yeah,
It
sure.
could become an absolute
Hmm.
desperate
Hmm.
situation
Yeah.
on the part of the government in your
Hmm.
country, and their refusal to turn, go back,
Yeah.
open the Keystone,
Hmm.
allow all the drilling anywhere, anytime, and the price of oil would drop 50%
Yeah.
easily.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things. Well, the other thing too, that whenever this happens, people keep topping off their tank. So theoretically, you are storing gasoline for the oil companies in your tank. You should let your tank run out. And yeah, it used to be $50 to fill your tank. Now it's 150 to fill your tank. But I've noticed traffic is a lot less in Bozeman, Montana, where I am. I don't know about you, Shane, in Kamloops, Canada. You've been at high gas prices forever in Canada. Of course, you're by the liter. It's so expensive. You don't even sell it by the gallon. Or is there a gallon in metric? I don't know.
No, no,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
not.
there's no gallon. Yeah, so you
But
got to
four,
sell it
yeah,
by the liter.
4 liters to a gallon, like four
Yeah,
quarts. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. How much is a liter now in Canada?
210.
Okay, so times four, you're at $8 a gallon.
Yeah, yeah, but converted to American now.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah. So it'd be a little less because our
No,
money's worth
no, thirty
your
percent
money's
more.
worth yeah, your money's worth more in Canada than ours is. No.
No, it's worth less to the U.S. dollar, so you have to add
Oh,
30% more on
oh,
it
you're
to
right.
go
Okay.
American.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
So eight
Yeah.
dollars, 8 times 3,
Yeah.
you're at $11 to $12 a gallon.
Yeah. Wow. So sounds
U.S.
good.
No, it's not. And the reason why is, it's squeezing the middle class.
Yeah.
It's squeezing the people that are working. They're
Hmm.
paying like 10% of their income now just for gas, which they have to get food and the basic things in life, food and
Hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And so it's a hard reality. But here's you add this on. Most families manage their lifestyle by living on 10 or 85, 80
Hmm.
to 5 to 90% of what they make. And
Yeah.
the 10% left over, they put 5% maybe in the bank, which they should, of course, and
Hmm.
5% is expendable income. That's where they get to go out and buy what they want to, not what they need. And that includes they want to go out for dinner, they want to go to a movie,
Hmm.
they want to buy a new pair of running shoes, you
Yeah.
know, want to fix the tire on their bike. Well, guess what? The wanna can't go because
Yeah.
now they're spending 10% more just on gasoline. So boom, what
Yeah.
happens? The consumer drops. That's what happened last Friday.
Hmm.
The consumer is stopped spending. That's going to slow the entire economy down. And again, another marker which clearly
Hmm.
told you and I in November, December, recession now.
Hmm.
And they all keep saying, "Oh, it's coming in a year." These people are, I, they're a year behind.
Look around.
Yeah, they're worse than the government. They keep
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the Democrats, and they have no idea about the common person." And then you
Yeah.
listen to these people, and it's like, you're in a recession. Oh, it's coming. It's Johnny Diamond, head of one of the largest banks in the world, Morgan Stanley, did not say a hurricane is
Yeah.
offshore because there isn't one.
Yeah.
He's not a meteorologist, all right. But
Hmm.
the best analogy he could use for Americans, because hurricane
Yeah.
season's coming, but it's early with this economy. Then as head of equity investment this week on
Hmm.
CNBC said, "Oh no, everything's okay. We're not." And he said, "But your boss says the
Yeah.
hurricane's coming." Oh well, but it's going to be no. It's huge. It's bad. And
Hmm.
as I said, stocks are at a discount. They're going to get cheaper,
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
everything else that you buy right now is expensive, and now it's going to become unaffordable, and
Yeah.
that's going to happen. Things
Well,
are not going to be affordable.
yeah, the markets are down 6,000 points from their high, so that's where we are. Now,
Yeah.
Biden is on his way to Saudi Arabia here before long, and he's asked the U.S. oil producers to ramp up drilling, but oil producers have faced constraints, including securing materials, can't find enough workers. Oil companies are under pressure from shareholders not to chase high oil prices too much because they have a history of this boom and bust thing, and that's curtailing investment in oil companies as well. So we're damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Well, let's just use one example of what COVID did. So when 2020 came along and they shut everything down, that includes, the 4 million kids at universities and colleges around the country. Well, where'd they go? Well, they all went home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all that labor was lost in all those cities, and all that revenue was lost. Then they went home and they couldn't find any work. So now they become another mouth to feed, which adds cost. And here we are, 2 years in, and then, for some reason they slowly release the world from, being, in jail at home, whatever you want to call it. And none of this is happening fast. I mean, some of the major universities, yeah, kids are getting back there, but a lot of places that they went for work are closed. So, when we keep hearing that there's these, there's 11 million people unemployed, that's 3%. So we're fully employed. That's basically.
Yeah.
But the number of businesses, and there's like 2 million that are still not reopening. And, the average small business has less than 50 people.
Yeah.
So even if you take 25 as an average, 2 million, that's 50 million jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the numbers are there. You just have to look at them. But it's like you say, the unwillingness for your government to develop policy to expand these things and create a better environment is preventing growth. And so everything's in the the shitter.
Yeah. Bruce wants to know, how low will the markets go, Shane? What do you think we're looking at? 25? We're looking at 20?
Oh, no, it's single digits.
You think so? Nine again, like it was in
or lower.
Really?
Lower.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to 9 like we did in wherever it was. I forget when, that March of 2009, it got to got to 9. Yeah. And then it was back to 12 by the end of the year. Yeah. But I don't see that happening this time around.
Well,
not that quickly.
No, it'll take time. This is the recession.
Well, I mean, it won't double in 6 months back to.
No. It'll take a generation.
Yeah.
This time around, it'll take 20 years. Yeah, it's fascinating to realize that by September, I expect the market to be well below 30 or 20.
Yeah.
Into the teens, and I expect also that interest rates by the Fed will be closer to 10% than 5 or 7. Mm-hmm. And I have a solution to it, but they don't. They're not going to go for my solution because it's off the table. It's out of the box. It's the thinking that Bush came up with to save the economy during the election in 2008, and that was to go to the banks and force them to inject the money into the economy, which they didn't do. They injected it into the market.
Yeah.
And created a 20-year bull market. But hey, everyone seemed to be happy with it. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. Seemed to be, I guess. So I don't know. Well, I think we've covered oil pretty extensively here, Shane. The last thing I need to mention is that when Ford introduced the Model T, it got 25 miles to the gallon. So it was not too bad. Of course, it only went, I think it had a top speed of like 45. But
I was looking at prices today at the end of World War II.
Yeah.
When the U.S. was the largest producer of oil and gas, and of course airplanes fuel.
Yeah.
They had doubled their production in 4 years, but it is still selling at 9 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
9 cents. That's
Yeah, I
what
know.
gasoline was at the end of World War
Yeah.
II. Started out at 4 before the war, doubled.
Yeah. Cool. But that hurt everybody's wallet when you're only making $5 a week.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, I think the lowest gas price I can ever remember in our little town, we had about 5 gas stations, or maybe 4, I think. And they had a gas war, and the lowest I think I ever saw was 16 cents. So,
yeah, I remember 12 and
yeah.
14 in Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the 70s. Yeah.
Yep.
Before the Carter initiative.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I could take a girl to the drive-in. I could buy a half a tank of gas and feed her for less than $5. So
that's right. Yep.
Hell of a deal.
A burger in a drive-in was $1. A cheeseburger was $1.25. Right.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
French fries were 99 cents.
All right. Yeah. All right, we need to remind you the award-winning Tom and Shane. We're live on the radio every Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Listen live at kmsam.com. Click listen now. You don't have to join anything. You don't have to leave any personal information, no email, no sign up, no nothing. All you do is click listen now and listen. And you can call us. You can text us. You can do whatever you want to do while you're listening to us. So we don't care what you do. Just don't hurt anyone.
And you can download it and keep it for later reference, because
you can do that because, hey,
we the numbers.
Yeah, we record all our shows, and they're also at kmmsam.com. Click on Tom and Shane's podcast. And Tom and Shane are also on iHeartRadio. We're on iHeartRadio, Shane. I just signed us up for iHeartRadio, so we're over there.
That's nice.
So you can do Tom and Shane search on iHeartRadio. If that's somewhere you go normally, then, hey, it'll be good for you. So try it out. So... All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We picked up several subscribers, and subscribing won't hurt you at all. Click on the subscribe button either in the lower right-hand corner or down below the video. Ring the notification bell so you'll always be notified whatever time zone you're in. You'll be notified when we're on. And like us, leave a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see on the show. What would you like for us to talk about, or cover, or explore? We're happy to do that for you. So if there's any topics you have, we'll be happy to deal with them for you. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll see you on Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time.